And welcome back, everybody, to I'll Hang Up and Listen, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at 7 different Western New York locations. If you need a beer, get over to Fatty Beer. Let them know Two Goalies when Mike sent you. And, of course, as always, a shout-out to Extreme Discount Mattress with Western New York's finest selection of mattresses and adjustable beds featuring the cool gel memory foam, two-sided mattresses, Telele latex, organic mattresses, Chatham & Wells, Scott Living, and even the Skechers mattress, all for 1/3 to 1/2 the supposed sales price. Anywhere. Stop in at any of their 7 locations across Western New York to check out their website, extrememattress.com. If you're looking for even more savings, you can also check out their new closeout center at 1625 Walden Avenue in Cheektowaga with up to 80% off their already low prices. Save a fortune on one-of-a-kinds, closeouts, and floor samples. You can get a quality mattress for literally pennies on a dollar. Extreme Discount Mattress. We sell mattresses for less, a lot less. They're also offering a matching mattress protector, mattress pad for any mattress that you buy. If you mention that you are a fan of Two Goalies with Mike, so make sure you go check them out. Great deals over at Extreme Discount Mattress Hurls. But the topic of the evening, the Buffalo Sabres strike oil against the Edmonton Oilers. I know, corny, cheesy line, but they win 5-1 against the Oilers, shutting down Connor McDavid and getting their second win in a row.
Yeah, I was just looking at that to confirm, but McDavid, no points and a -2, which doesn't really happen for him. I think they said it during the broadcast. He had 16 points in his last 8 games. He got off to a bit of a slow start this season, goal-scoring wise, but he's really come on recently. So for them to be able to effectively shut him down for most of the game, he only had 1 shot on goal, and I didn't notice him that much. I didn't see all of the third period, but it seems like he was largely held at bay, which is a really, really good sign for this team defensively. And I would say generally, like, if you look at the numbers, just the general numbers from the game, at least not the deep analytics, but just like the team stats, Sabres were outshot 33-28, out hit 20-13, lost the faceoffs 36-30, but they got a power play goal and they got really good goaltending. Colton Ellis was really good again tonight. He's been, I would say, above average to great in most of his starts this season. I think I saw that he had a 1.57 goal saved above expected tonight. So it's looking like after a long layoff, a 3-week layoff in between his first start and his second start, it does seem like that first game was not a fluke. And this guy could actually be a dependable either backup or starting goalie for the team moving forward.
Yeah, and one thing we'll touch on Ellis here in even more so in a second, but again, we talked about McDavid, and they just did such a good job of clogging up neutral zone, right? Like that, and that's where McDavid thrives, man. Once he gets speed coming out of his own end, and he really starts to take off through that neutral zone, and he finds space. He's almost impossible to stop. You didn't really see much of that from him at all tonight. And I know some Sabres fans were out there for this possibly being the Matt Larkin redemption game for his tweet after the Savoy McLeod trade. Thankfully we avoided that one at all costs, because given the luck of the Sabres this year, Savoy would have came in here and scored a hat trick, and that guy would have been on one tonight. But no, listen, like, there wasn't a single player out there in Edmonton that you could honestly look and say, he got the better of us tonight. The Sabres were dominant in all 3 periods.
Yeah, Matt Larkin is going to regret saying anything about the Buffalo Sabres for the rest of his life. I couldn't even remember his name today, but as soon as I tweeted even a mention of who he was, people kindly directed me to his profile. That's bad news for him. But like, you put a takeout into the universe like that, you gotta either stand on it or suffer the consequences. And at this current moment, who knows what will happen? I think Savoy could turn out to be a really nice NHL player, but
for sure,
it is definitely not Philip Forsberg for Martin Erat, one of the worst 1-for-1 trades in NHL history. And for him to suggest that is what people are upset about. It wasn't the implication that Savoy was a better prospect than McLeod, or he had a higher ceiling or whatever, because that's honestly probably still true. I think it's just more so that the comparison between the two players.
They needed McLeod now. They couldn't wait for Savoy, pretty much.
Yeah, it was so ludicrous that it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. So
no,
sorry, buddy. You're ours now, and I don't think a lot of people are ever gonna let him.
And you know, even if like a year from now, like Savoy kind of turns it up, and because he has had a good like last stretch of games, I think he had like 4 or 5 points in his last few games or whatever it was. So I could be wrong. I know he had at least 2 goals and a couple assists, but
he had a game with 2 assists and a goal. He's got 3 points in his last 4
okay.
games.
So I was
but
opposite.
Largely still, has not done much this season.
Yeah, but
he's 21 years old.
Exactly. He could be a guy that turns it on here in a couple of years and ends up being like a 20+ goal scorer, much like McLeod, or we hope that McLeod turns to be. But like we said before, we needed help now. We didn't need help later. We have too many guys. Well, actually,
speaking to which, I think there were probably internal discussions over which prospect to give up for Ryan McLeod, and maybe the Oilers specifically wanted Savoy, but you have to think that Noah Ostlund and Isaac Rosian were in those discussions, and they showed tonight, and they've been showing recently that they seem to be making that jump to being potentially full-time NHL guys, which is really, really encouraging.
And Sabres fans really never got a chance to see much of Savoy because remember his first training camp, he was hurt pretty early. You know, I went there to cover it, and I don't think we saw anything of Savoy at all. So it's not like a prospect that we were like able to get overly hyped up about outside of what he was doing in junior, because we never really got to like watch him firsthand. So before we do get started here though, Earls, I do want to point out that I am wearing my Depew alma mater here sweater, only because I couldn't locate my jersey in my basement. I just want to acknowledge we had a guy I played high school hockey with for 2 years, and then some beer league after, Joe Gorski. Just want to send some thoughts, let his family and his friends know that like we're in his thoughts. He passed away yesterday. One of the hardest hitting open ice defensemen I ever played with, a great defenseman, and just an overall really good guy. Like I said, unfortunately yesterday he passed away, and just want him, his family, and his friends to know that, you know, he's in our thoughts. And we're gonna hopefully put together like an alumni skate. You know, get some guys together to kind of maybe do a celebration of life in his memory, because again, it's he was a few classes below me, and I just wanted to make a point of it tonight, just to mention, that he's missed and never be forgotten. And once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat. And Connor, this is when did you graduate?
High school 2010.
Okay, so you wouldn't. You would have played against his younger brother, Danny Gorski. But just again, wanted to acknowledge that and let him and his friends and his family know that they're in our thoughts. So a couple clicks for Joe, and rest easy, man. Now to get back to the game. The kids are all right. Right. I think it's the Offspring song. Noah Ostlund, Isaac Rosine. I don't care if we chances are we might be without Kulik possibly for the whole season, given his situation. But when Zucker, when Benson, and when Norris are back and healthy, under no circumstances do you send those two back to Rochester. Do you agree with the way they're playing?
For sure. I mean, you've got 6 points in, I think it's 8 games for Rosian this season, and then 5 points in 11 games for Ostlund. So they're not only producing, but it looks like just generally that they belong. They look bigger, they look faster, they look stronger, which makes sense for your, in Rosian's case, a draft +4 year, and I think Ostlund would be draft +3. I think he was a year later. Let's see. He was 2022, so a year later. another part of that Jack Eichel deal. So, yeah, I mean, development is important, and it does take time, especially for smaller guys. Maybe not as much in Rosen's case, but definitely in Oslin's case. But you can just see the confidence with both of them, especially Rosen. He was largely invisible in his time with the Sabres over the course of the past 2 years, but he was only brought up in, I would say, emergency type situations where I guess he has been given the amount of injuries to the Sabres this season, but in these opportunities, he looks like he belongs. And the two of them playing together, especially on the power play, and they made a nice comment tonight that it's pretty cool that a guy like Noah Ostlund could be centering the fourth line tonight, but also be on the first power play unit. That speaks to the versatility of this team and their willingness to try new things, try new players, try new setups to possibly get something going. Obviously, the power play, they scored tonight, thankfully, but they're still 24th in the league. So the willingness to be adaptable and to try new things and new guys in different spots, I think is a really, really good idea. But yeah, no, it's exciting. Obviously, they're going to have their cold stretches here and there. They're still very young players, but I do believe that they should be full-time NHL guys at this point in their career.
Yeah, I again, and we've waited and we've been pretty patient as fans. That first goal tonight by Ostlund, set up by Rosen, like just a beautiful goal, a goal scorer's goal right in front, right on top of the blue paint. I have to imagine that Skinner would have liked that one back. And he not even attempt a poke check, nothing. I mean, I got a testament that Edmonton has a real issue in that again this year. I know in the past they've been able to get by, given McDavid averaging like 130 points a season and Drysdale not too far behind him or even sometimes in front of him. But they have a real issue in net this year.
Yeah, no, it's not great for them. And I think they'll probably look to address that. Maybe Ukko Pekka-Luukkonen. Who knows?
Yeah, dude, we were talking in the chat. I know, you were probably busy at work, but like we were talking in the chat, like Philly desperately needs a goalie. St. Louis sounds like they're going to tear things down. Maybe, we took Ellis from you. You could take UPL from us. I actually think both of St. Louis's goaltenders, Bennington and is it Hoffer? I believe they're both like among two of the worst 10 goalies in the league this year. So yeah, I'm done. I'm already done with this 3 goalie rotation. I think I've seen enough from what I've need to see from Ellis to say that I can confidently say, see you later, UPL.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is probably the prevailing thought amongst the fan base. And while that may be valid, I don't necessarily think that's what's going to happen, at least in this near future. I think Adams is going to weigh his options if he still has a job, which if they keep this going, he will.
So they're going to keep paying a goaltender almost $5 million
a year
to
I would say that, yeah, but I also think that makes it tougher to make a trade, right? Like you see how hard it is to make any trade in the NHL, let alone for a goalie that's largely been underperforming and also been hurt and on that type of salary. Like I think it'd be tough for them to just cut him or waive him because I think he would obviously be picked up on waivers. I don't even know how that works in a guy in his situation, but this isn't just like the easiest thing in the world. Obviously, they want some type of return. And yeah, it'd be nice to get him off your book. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think this is the easiest transaction. So maybe they're already having conversations. Maybe they're not. I think given the amount of weird things that have happened to the team this year, it's not the worst thing in the world to have 3 goalies. Thankfully, goalies, it's knock on wood, seem to get hurt a little bit less than forwards and defensemen in this day and age in the NHL, but it's not the worst insurance plan in the world. However, you can't do it the whole season. And I guess I just want to stress that like everybody that keeps saying like trade UPL. Yeah, like ideally that'd be great. But I don't think it's going to be as simple as everybody makes it out to be.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm willing to retain a schmill out of that 4.75 if it means you can get like even a 3rd or 4th round pick for him at this point. You know what I mean? Maybe some people don't think it's worth it, but I don't know. I know Kevin likes his picks, so I just don't see them waiving him and losing him for nothing. There's a market out there somewhere for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
I mean,
if you retain a little salary,
and I would say the Oilers are probably a good one, right? Like they're of
Oilers,
course
the Flyers, probably the Blues.
And I would say the Oilers more so than the other two teams, just because they are in win now mode and they want a guy with a high ceiling and not a proven track record, but he has done it for spurts in the NHL. So even seeing what they saw tonight with Skinner, he's good in stretches. He's kind of like Luukkonen, right? Like, do they want to bring in another guy in like that? Like, I think that could be a tough proposition for them because they probably don't have that many prospects or picks to begin with. So I don't know if you're making a hockey trade, but yeah, I think it's complicated. It really is, especially given the contract and his history of obviously the double hip surgery, but also the most recent injury, which has definitely affected his play so far this season.
Yeah, you can definitely point to that as part of it. But like, again, for me, it's like, and I appreciate Lindy riding the hot hand and going right back to Ellis, showing zero hesitation with that. But I mean, regardless of how long he might ride this wave with Colton Ellis, like Lyon's the next guy up, right? He deserves that. He's earned that right. And if I'm Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I gotta be pretty pissed off right now, right? Like,
well, I mean, I think maybe internally, but he probably also understands, given how
dude, I wouldn't understand it at all personally.
Well, given how the season started, though, right? Like, I think
your injury, sure, but you got Georgiev. That was supposed to be the guy, the insurance policy. Then it was Ellis. You went and claimed Colton Ellis, but you're back healthy. You're essentially on your way to coming. He was either already back and healthy, or he was on his way to. I think he was on his way to getting back or going through that 1 game stint in Rochester. Yeah. They claimed him right when he was going through that 1 game rehab in Rochester. So if I'm Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I'm just like, what are we doing here, man? Like, you guys signed me to this extension. Yeah, I didn't live up to it last season, but are we really going to do this 3 goalie rotation thing again? Because if I'm him as a goaltender, as a competitor, I'm not fucking doing this again. Like, I'm not doing this again. I want out.
Yeah. I think it's competitor or not. Like, just like I want a chance to compete somewhere, and I want to, constantly wait my turn 2 weeks at a time to get in a game. Yeah, and maybe he does. I think every player wants to play, right? And that was probably, as much as Levi never wanted to go down, I think he's probably happier getting as many starts as he's getting down in Rochester rather than sitting on the bench in the NHL. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's in his best interest. Maybe it's in the best interest of the team, and hopefully they can get something done. But until they do, I do think that this is going to be the situation for now, and they're gonna have to figure it out. The next game he gets in, I think the best thing for both him and the team is he performs well. Obviously for the team, of course, because they need every point that they can get, but he needs to show to other teams that he can get back to that high level that earned him that deal. Because if he continues to play the way that he has, I thought he actually was pretty good in Colorado the other night in a tough situation, coming in cold against the best far away offensive team in the league. I thought he performed admirably in that spot, and it showed the higher level of his game. But like you said, he might only have a start every couple of weeks given the situation at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not about
he's just but he's got to take advantage of that start when he gets it. Because if he doesn't, it's going to be hard to trade him.
It's also hard to live up to. Yeah, as a goaltender, you got to be ready every single night. But there's no comparing. There's no way to mimic what you go through in a game as a goaltender in practice. You know what I mean? Even if it's a high intensity practice, you want to stay sharp and stuff. But as a goaltender, imagine what it's like for you to rotate in during practice. You know what I mean? It's not even like you're taking all the shots. You're rotating in, and you're hoping and praying that this is the week you might get a start. I don't know, man. I think if I'm UPL, again, regardless of how he's what type of breed of a goalie he is, what's in his DNA, what type of competitive nature he has, we talk about this all the time. I want out. I don't want to do this. Like, obviously they've given Colton Ellis his housing note. Like, he's here to stay for the season. That's what that meant. They're not trading Alex Lyon for 90% of the time he's played here. Essentially, he's been great for them, giving him a chance to win almost every single time he's been in net. So if you're trying to make the playoffs here and put the best possible team on the ice, like, those are the two you should be riding with, unless the season goes off the rails again, and then maybe you might be fielding calls for Alex Lyon come the deadline. Who knows? But I don't know, man. If I'm UPL, I want out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, potentially from his perspective, I could see that too. But I think more than anything, given the injury and the entire situation leading up, I think he's just likely doing whatever he can to prepare as best as he can for his next start, and he needs to play well, no matter which team he's going to be on in the middle or the end of the season. That's all that really matters at this point. And personally, I think that he's capable of that. So we'll see what happens. But like at this point, yeah, like the play of both Lyon and Ellis have made him expendable, and especially given the contract. So we'll see what happens. But at least for the next month or so, I think we're gonna continue to do this.
Yep. I do want to also acknowledge some new faces in the chat. Richard McDonald, thanks for popping in, bud. Chris Rodier also said first time posting. A few other guys in the chat too. Appreciate you guys popping in. Nate Riders 96. And I also want to I know I mentioned Joey Gorski earlier. I just want to acknowledge this one comment because I found it was funny. I was asked if I was where is it? Let me see it here. Where is it? It's right in here. Where is it? Sorry. First time also. Where is it? Is it near the bottom? Oh, Kelly, also new. Welcome to the program. I'll find it here in a second. Anyways, we talked about Austin. We talked about Rosen. Obviously, when certain players get back healthy, the ones we mentioned before, your Norris, your Zucker, your Benson, who should be worried about their job?
Interesting discussion, because I think that probably a few candidates. I mean, in the lineup tonight, well, Josh Dunn, obviously. Yeah, I think he's there only on an emergency basis. Potentially Greenway.
But here, what you said, Josh Dunn, but he's also played pretty well. I've never seen him really notice him in a negative impact way either.
For sure. But he got 9 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
So
Peyton Krebs.
Potentially Krebs, but I also think Krebs is your perfect fourth liner. Like, obviously he's not producing at what you thought he would be as a prospect, but even tonight, you saw him get in the middle of a scrum, getting a scrap. He had an assist. He had 2 shots on goal. I think that he provides a role that can stick. I've had a lot of people mention to me that they haven't liked Greenway's game. I don't necessarily think I've loved it either, but it's also been such a small sample size given the injury. And he's also hasn't been able to stay healthy for most of his tenure with the Sabres. So I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, we said pretty early on, Kozak did have an injury. Now he's back. I think he's also a pretty perfect fourth liner. I love
the way in the face-off circle.
Yeah, and I love the way he played. Tonight he was 7-12, but that's not necessarily
every night. Bad though.
Yeah, it's not good, but it's not
great,
bad.
But not bad.
Yeah, McLeod was 9-5, which is where he needs to be. And Tage was 8-8. If Tage is 50-50 every night, I'm good. If that's the aspect of his game that he struggles at playing center, or if it's defensively and he's still playing as aggressively as he is these past couple of games since he's been moved, I'm fine with him being 50% from the faceoff dot. That's wonderful. But yeah, I mean, I think it's everyone who's on that fourth line. Obviously, Beck got a goal tonight, but it was his first goal of the season. Yeah, I think any of those guys potentially, when I think Kulik's going to be a while, but Norris is day to day, he says. Can't necessarily trust that given his history.
Given the injury.
But yeah, I mean, Zucker will be back soon. I think I don't know. potentially 2 or 3 of these guys, and I think that starts with Josh Dunn.
You could be right. I agree with you on the Peyton Krebs point. I think he is a great fourth liner. I think he's really loved in that locker room. And it's pretty obvious. Maybe it is Greenway. Hate to say it, but like you said, he doesn't really. I never find myself getting mad at Jordan Greenway. You know what I mean? I know he's a good defensive forward, but I don't know. Am I willing to sacrifice the offensive production that I've been consistently getting from those two for Jordan Greenway? I mean, I really don't think I'm willing to.
Yeah, and I mean, same goes for Beck. Obviously, he's good on the forecheck, but he's only getting 10, 11 minutes a game, right? It's not necessarily this. I mean, Ostlund got 10 tonight. Rosian got 15, which I think says something about the way he's been playing.
Does.
But yeah, no, I think it's any of those guys not in the top 6. And I think it'll really speak to when Benson and Zucker are back, because those guys likely are in the top 6, and then they move other guys down the lineup. Obviously, people have been hot and cold on Jack Quinn for understandable reasons. I think he's been really good on the rush, but he hasn't necessarily been strong on his stick or from a playmaking perspective. He hasn't handled passes or sent passes really well. And I think he still needs to get stronger. His cardio needs to probably get a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you see flashes. You see his playmaking ability when he does get some open ice, especially in odd man rush situations. So he's probably safe. But any of those other guys, I would say Kozak, Mallinston, Greenway, and Dunn are the top 4 candidates.
Yeah, no doubt. And I just think it gives you so much depth that you score, at least from a scoring perspective and offensive, that you've probably been lacking now for a while. I think of that third line. Who is centering Rosine and Ostlund today, or was one of them the center? Was Quinn on that line? You're muted, bud.
Yeah, I was trying to keep up the lines. I saw McLeod out there at one point. I'll see what they tweeted out before the game, but yeah, I don't know confidently off the top of my head.
Yeah, maybe somebody in the chat can let us know who is the center on that line. But it adds a lot of scoring depth that you hadn't had in a while with the way they're playing, and it just seems that they really match up well with whoever they're out there with.
Yeah, so we had McLeod in between Rosian and Quinn, and Kozak in between Greenway and Krebs, Ostlund between Dunn and Mallinston. And then obviously the top line.
Was that first Ostlund goal, then a power play goal?
It was, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's why they were out there together. But still, like I said, even playing separately, they look great.
And even when they played together, you've seen the chemistry.
100%.
That goal the other night was the give and go was so unbelievably well executed, and it speaks to all the time that they've played together in Rochester. So when these guys come back, I could absolutely see them being back together.
Now again, they win 2 in a row. They have Calgary coming up, right? I think is Calgary their next
Calgary
game?
At home on Wednesday.
Yeah, so that could be 3 wins in a row right there, because Calgary is considered one of those unofficial tank teams right now. With the way they're playing, they're probably looking to blow up the entire roster. Honestly, I'd be surprised if Kadri's. I mean, Kadri would be a tough contract to move, but Rasmus Anderson, guys like them, I'd be surprised if they're past Christmas. To be 100% honest with you, that should be a win, right? You have to win that.
Yeah,
game.
I mean, yeah, you'd hope so, and I would say that. Of course, they got their first road win the other night in Detroit, but Sabres have largely been pretty good at home. So this home stretch that they have 4 in a row, Calgary, Chicago, and Carolina, which I mentioned online, but I think I will be in the building for both the Blackhawks game on Friday and Sunday in Carolina if I can make it back from Toronto after a wedding in time. To be determined, but definitely Friday night. And I would imagine a Friday about 6-7 days before Thanksgiving against the Blackhawks, that could be a pretty good atmosphere. Especially if they beat the Flames. Of course, it looked pretty bleak on Saturday night when they got down 4-1. I even changed the channel for a little bit. I was frustrated, but we came back, credit to the team because
That
had
was
they
a fun
lost
third
that
period.
had they lost that game, that could have gotten really, really bad, especially not having that momentum coming into tonight against a really skilled Oilers team. So, of course, like they need to prove it over a longer stretch of games, but in the short term, in this current near past, present, and future, that is a massive, massive comeback win on Saturday night in Detroit.
Yeah. I'm just still honestly so blown away like how much they like you can argue. I mean, there's no argument McDavid's the best player in the world, but you can argue that Draisaitl's probably the second best player in the world.
Well,
And just how they just shut both of them down tonight. It was incredible.
I would say currently, just based upon the way that he's playing, McKinnon is like in another dimension right now.
Yeah, but who are you taking on your team, McDavid or McKinnon?
No, I'm talking about the second best player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking in terms
Yeah,
of McDavid.
McDavid's obviously the best player in the world, and I think he is whenever he's healthy. But the way that McKinnon is playing in this current moment is arguably better than McDavid. And he is, you even saw it the other night. He didn't have that crazy of a game, but what he's doing on a nightly basis is really remarkable. And that team, I saw today that they're first in goals forward, first in goals against, the best power play, and also first in expected goals, which hasn't been done in however long. They're like truly, truly dominant at the moment.
Yeah.
So honestly, like that game was wonky the other night, but for the Sabres to like kind of stay in it against a team that's 13-1-5 at home, 7-0-2 at home is pretty good in my opinion. And I do think they might have gained some confidence from that.
Yeah, you would hope so, man. I feel like in those games that they were losing, even the ones where you're still getting a point, like I never felt like they were really like playing with a ton of confidence. I know the injuries piled up, and I know it's tough to play, to go out there and play as a cohesive unit, especially with during that stretch of games how bad the power play was. But
yeah, I mean, they
for
lost
4 periods. They played with a ton of swagger.
They lost
periods.
8 of 9, but only the last 4 were in regulation, and that includes the clunker against St. Louis. Obviously, lose every time we go to Carolina. The weird one, obviously, blow a 2-1 lead in the third period against the Mammoth, and then lose to the best team in the league in Colorado in another weird game. And then every other game during that, in the 5 games before that, all went to overtime or a shootout. So it didn't feel like an 8 of 9 losing streak because they were picking up some loser points.
Yeah.
And there were some weird games here and there. But you also have to consider, obviously, these weird, fucked up injuries and Dahlin on a leave of absence and everything else related to what was going on with the team. So, yeah, no, I think that having gone through that stretch and now getting some guys back and only being 4 points out, not only of the wild card, but also the division. The team that's in third place in the Atlantic Division at this current moment is the Montreal Canadiens. Oh, they got a loser point tonight. So we're 5 points out of the division. But 10-6-3, 23 points. Sabres 7-8-4, 18 points. And then the Blue Jackets currently in the second wild card spot, 10-7-2, 22 points. So yeah, I mean, could have been way worse. The East is not necessarily too great this season, and I think that 90 points potentially could get a team in that second wild card spot.
Yeah, Toronto has been. I feel for Leafs fans, man, because
lost 5 in a row.
Yeah, it's looking rough for them right now. They really haven't found their identity without Mitch Marner in that lineup. Obviously with him being traded to Vegas, but yeah, it's kind of crazy how close and tight the East has been for weeks now, and it's almost like the hockey guys are saying, like, "Hey, Buffalo, like, figure it out. We're trying to help you here. Like, get healthy, start playing like you want this, because it's right there for you to slide right back into a wild card spot, and we can just pretend that those games from a week, 2 weeks ago didn't even happen."
Yeah, I mean, that's an extremely fortunate position to be in, and especially with this home stretch coming up. By the end of the week, they could be in a wild card spot if everything falls their way. So you thank your lucky stars for that, and also you can pat yourself on the back for getting some of those loser points and for holding up the fort and not letting the ship go down in a very, very tough situation. The goaltending needs to be credited. The will of guys that aren't normally getting as much playing time, I think needs to be recognized. And now when they get their lineup back and they hopefully can get back to that stretch right after the beginning of the season where they were not only winning, but dominating pretty good teams, I think that's their highest level. And I think there's a chance, especially if Norris comes back and stays healthy and they get some semblance of what they wanted their lineup to look like, I think this team could be in a really good spot come the new year.
I agree. The Alex Tuch situation, obviously we saw Adrian Kempe sign his deal. I think it's for a little over $10 million a season. That was most often used as the comparable for Tuch. And when you look at their season stats, they're almost identical right now. I think like Kempe has like maybe one more point than Tuch. I think that's a very solid comparable given the season he's having so far. Before we wrap things up here, Hurls, would you be comfortable paying Alex Tuch $10.5 million a season?
So Kempe leads the Kings in scoring.
Mm-hmm. You're muted, bud.
Here we are.
Dude, that happened to me. That happened to me last post game. For the first minute and a half, I was completely muted until I saw in the chat that everyone was yelling at me to unmute my mic.
19 points in 20 games for Adrian Kempe, leads the team. He's 29 years old. I think this is updated. I think they've played 19 games, but 16 points in 19 games for Alex Tuch. He's also 29 years old. In his career, Tuch has 398 points in 554 games. For Adrian Kempe's career, he has, I think it's pretty similar, which is like really, really wild. He's got, going to it, through 420 points in 649 games. So a few more games. So yeah, I mean, the comparison's not too far off. And given the way the cap is going to go up and everything he can provide to a team, I think the people that were talking about 12 was way too much. Even 11 probably would have made the team a little bit uncomfortable. But seeing it come in under 11, I think is a good place to be. And
I agree.
You get a guy in that clearly wants to be here, that you can trust not only from a leadership standpoint, but also production. And he's got at least, hopefully, given his talent and his relatively good injury history, knock on wood, 5-6 good years left. I think it's worth it, personally.
I think so too. You got players like him, scoring wingers like him don't really grow on trees. The guys that could be a Selke Trophy candidate almost every single season, who sells out to block shots, is a phenomenal penalty killer, usually top 3 to top 5 in shorthanded goals every season. I understand that fans might be a little worried that his play could fall off a few years into that deal. But, I mean, when you say fall off with Alex Tuch, what is he going to score, 25 goals instead of 35 goals?
If the Sabres decide to spend money on something that or someone that has proven themselves and also is such an integral part in one of the lowest points in franchise history to be a bright spot of that, like, you cannot be upset with them for being like, hey,
no.
here's $10 million a year. Like, you have to understand, like, yeah, maybe it's not ideal, but in this situation, who has all the leverage? It's Alex Tuch.
Yep.
And 14 years, potentially 15, hopefully not. Like, the guy is as in good of a spot financially as a hockey player could be at the moment, given his relative skill level to the rest of the league. I think he could potentially strike gold for a player that's not necessarily a top 20 forward, but can be that top 6 guy for his power play unit for a team
Mhm.
like the Sabres and also get them to the place where they want to be. He
100%.
wants to be in Buffalo when they break this drought, probably more than anybody. So I think there's incentive on both sides, and I really, really hope they get it done.
Yeah, and Kelly here, she's absolutely correct. He does everything. And another
I
great
mean,
follow-up comment.
there's a reason that
He's the glue.
there's a reason the Sabres penalty kill is the best in the league, and it is
Yeah.
largely on the back of Alex Tuch. Obviously, credit to Ryan McLeod, credit to the defense. They've kept it tight this season, and they've done really, really well of keeping things to the outside and letting who's ever been net see the puck and get eyes on it. But they've also had shorthanded opportunities. They've gotten the puck out. They've had continuity in their own zone. Alex Tuch, as Kelly said, like, he does do everything, and he very much seems like a good guy in the locker room, and he's got an A. Obviously, he's a leader, a good guy in the community. Almost every single box is checked. Weird to say for me as a 33-year-old, aside from the fact that he's going to turn 30 soon. So, yeah, I think it is what it is at this point. Guys can play to 40.
Yep.
Guys, look at Anze Kopitar, like similar types of players, bigger body, playing the penalty kill. I think he's able to extend this NHL livelihood as long as possible.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna get to our final thoughts here. We're just gonna throw it back to our sponsors here for a moment. Shout out to again Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at 7 different Western New York locations. If you need a beer, get over to Fatty Beer. Make sure you're checking out our Fatty Beer giveaway right now. For every we're giving away a gift card every time there is a shutout by a Sabres goaltender this season, and every game that there is not a shutout, the value of the gift card goes up $5. When there is a shutout, it recycles back to $5, and then it just continues to grow. So make sure you're following us along on Twitter and Instagram, so you can have a chance at winning that. And then, of course, as always, Extreme Discount Mattress.
We know with Skechers, your day starts with the comfort and support you need for your feet. And now that same innovation has made its way to the bedroom. Introducing the Skechers Sleep System. With cooling SketchKnit fabric, pressure-relieving Skechers Max cushioning, and our Skechers Posture Fit support system. Your day ends just like it began, with Skechers comfort that never stops. Skechers mattresses, exclusively at Extreme Discount Mattress, the lowest prices in the nation.
Then once again, thank you to our sponsors. One of my final thoughts too here. Somebody pointed out, Kevin, in the chat. Are you at all concerned about Zach Benson still being a boot? We thought that we were going to see him on that road trip, or at least we were kind of, told that there was a chance he was going to play on that road trip. And now we are one game back from the road trip, and we still haven't seen Zach Benson back on the ice. How concerned are you, Hurls?
Yeah, without knowing the nature of the injury or his recovery, at least mildly, right? Like, it could be a high ankle sprain, which takes longer than even a broken ankle sometimes, and it can linger, or it could be something that is potentially something that we don't even know about. So yeah, I would say a little bit, but I would imagine they're probably being careful with it. I think the boot will stabilize it, and it'll get into a good position where once it's off, hopefully he can begin gaining strength back and obviously working on his skating and his cardio. So conservatively, I would say maybe the end of the month. And then, yeah, by December, I think he potentially will be back in the lineup if it is a sprain and he's been out as long as he has.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. He's such an important player to this team, and we saw it like firsthand when he was when he got back in the lineup after the facial injury. Hopefully we get him back sooner rather than later. I want to shout out. I go up and down the chat here, and I just want to shout out our people I haven't seen in here before. If this is your first time watching, Chris Radier, Kelly, I see a couple other guys, just Michael Andrew. Thanks for hopping in. And is the guys I mentioned earlier too, like super always cool to see some new faces in the chat, some new commenters. Always appreciate it. If you've liked this content, make sure you're subscribed. I see you all on YouTube. I see the little YouTube icon. So please, if you aren't subscribed, Michael, Andrew, Kelly, Chris, everybody, make sure you're subscribed. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button so we know you're enjoying this. And follow us along on Twitter, Instagram at 2 Goalies 1 Mike. Always appreciate it. And we'll when's the next game? Is it isn't tomorrow, right?
Wednesday.
So we'll have a new episode of 2 Goalies 1 Mike tomorrow. But until then, tomorrow night, talk to you guys later. And as always, go Sabres.